Order! Order! You are an incorrigible delinquent at times. Behave yourself, man!
New research on the government's state pension reforms has found that more than 1 million women in their early 60s have become poorer as a result. According to the Institute for Fiscal Studies, they're losing, on average, more than £30 a week. Meanwhile, the government is saving more than £5 billion a year. Emma Simpson has been looking at the plight of some of the women affected.
No trips to the pictures, no trips to the pubs. My lifestyle has changed. Can't do the things I used to do.
Shirley from Aberdeen is 61. She can't work because of ill health, and she can't get her state pension either for another 5 years.
The effect it's had on me, ending it all, because having to rely on your family. But my son said to me, he says, "Mum, you brought me up. You know, you always gave me when you had it. It's my turn." But it's still hard.
For decades, the pension ages stayed the same. Women retired at 60, men at 65. But by 2020, both men and women will have to wait until they're 66 before they can draw their state pension. The changes for women began in 2010, and it all depends on your date of birth. So, for instance, if I was born before the 6th of April 1950, I'd still get my state pension at 60. But if I was born 2 years later, then I'd get that benefit at 62. And if I was born a couple of years after that, then I'll be 66 before I draw my state pension. This former pensions minister told me the government was right to take action on the spiralling pensions bill, but
given the savings of many billions of pounds that the government is making, a small amount of that could be allocated to helping those women that have been pushed into poverty bridge the gap between when they would have got their state pension and when they will now receive it.
Women have been campaigning for that. Ministers insist the changes are fair, we're living longer, and that women retiring now will get the state pension longer than previous generations. They just need to get there. Emma Simpson, BBC News.
Back here, women born between 1950 and 1953 have long complained that changes to the state pension age would leave them significantly worse off, and no one warned them so they could plan accordingly. Well, today, the number crunchers at the Institute for Fiscal Studies say 1 million are affected, and they are, on average, £32 a week worse off.
These are the faces of the great pension swindle. At least that's how Cheryl, Joan and Tricia might describe themselves.
I'd hoped that I would be going on holidays and meeting people for cups of coffee.
Their retirement dreams remain just that. Since they were born in the 50s, they've had to wait longer for their state pension. All of them had to retire early and now fear they'll be dead before they receive it.
It's awful. I've always been financially independent, always, and now I'm not. And that's terrible when you get to 63 and 8 months and, you know, for all your life you've been financially independent and earned the biggest wage. And now it's gone.
And they're not alone. New research reveals women who had to wait until they're 63 to retire are much poorer for it. The Institute for Fiscal Studies has found more than 1 million women aged between 60 and 62 are now worse off due to the changes in pension age. They're receiving, on average, £32 less per week, even if they're still working. And while the women are living on less, the government is making more. Over £5 billion more a year from the savings in the changes and tax revenue from women who've had to go back to work. It's a choice the government made, it says, out of necessity.
Rising longevity is putting pressures on the government's finances. It's choosing to respond to that by increasing the state pension age. That helps the government's finances, but it does put pressure on those women who have to wait for longer before getting their state pension.
Before long, they were quietly conquering every citadel of power.
Women in the 60s and 70s were slowly changing the face of the workplace, fighting for equal rights and pay. That same generation now have a new battle. They say they weren't told about the pension changes and they were introduced too quickly, leaving them no time to prepare.
Nobody listens to us. They just think that we're a band of silly old women, and we're not a band of silly old women. We simply want justice.
The campaign group calling for a fairer pension deal for women born in the 50s is gaining traction. They say around 40 Conservative MPs are now backing them. It's enough to cause a rebellion in the Commons and could force the Prime Minister to make changes. Emily Morgan, News at 10 in Westminster.